issue lah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason why too kita pilih period poverty to discuss juga, and kita punya lecturer straight away approve to discuss this topic, and we believe you are the very suitable one to discuss about this. And yeah, we will go through. Maria will share the screen. We will go through the questions to get understand the question better first lah. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much, Puan Rusni, for
No worries.
spending your time tonight.
No worries. I'm so sorry too sebab I think like macam we've been like postponing like how many times kan.
Sebab kita pun part-time student, so semua pun full-time worker.
Okay, so korang study dekat mana?
Yeah, so kita UiTM Shah Alam, tapi since PKP, kita memang online class sampai sekarang. That's why kita record podcast pun memang seorang dekat Penang, seorang dekat Selangor.
I dekat KL.
I think shouldn't be an issue lah sebab sekarang pun everything like online kan. So
okay, Puan Rusli, so this is the questions I'm sharing with you. You nampak tak I punya background? I punya screen, sorry. Okay.
Nampak.
Okay. So basically it's a 30 minutes session. We'll try to wrap up within 30 minutes. We don't want to take so much of your time lah.
Okay.
So whenever that you're ready, you let us know. Then I record. Oh, is it recording now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is it recording now? Sebab I nampak recording has started. So I don't have to click anything kan?
Tak payah.
Okay. Alright.
Fika, how about let's say Puan Rusni ready baru kita record?
Can, sure.
I think korang just boleh record kan, lepas tu nanti just cut mana-mana yang korang rasa boleh cut lah kan. Sebab mungkin in a way kita record tu ada something yang you rasa macam sensitif ke, tak sepatutnya dimasukkan ke, nanti you all can just cut it out lah. No worries.
Okay. Maria, share the screen. Okay. So just run through the question first lah. This one is basically the first one, introduction. Okay. So second one, does it impact mental health? So with this COVID-19 pandemic things, does it have any changes on period poverty? And number 4, how serious? Oh, okay, Maria. Okay, so number 4 is how serious period poverty level, because it's quite new in Malaysia.
Number 3. In fact, okay.
So how serious it is in Malaysia. And number 5, which age range? Yeah. So number 6, I don't want to explain more because I don't want to interrupt your opinions. Okay. Number 6, menstrual cup can reduce period poverty or not. Number 6, okay, the purple one. Yeah, so basically the brothers and fathers, what are the knowledge that they should have? Number 7, majority tend to think. So number 8, how to change the stigma among society. Okay.
Number sekejap ya. Oh, okay. Sebab soalan yang saya dapat ni ada tanya pasal yang Tengku Zafrul punya.
Ada.
Okay. Soalan 13. How can education address this issue?
Oh, sorry.
I think we have 2 additional questions, 14 and 15. This is the 2 additional questions.
14 and 15.
Okay. Then okay, so basically that's all. 16, it's about 17 questions. Something wrong with my numbering ni. It's one repeated number 6. So basically 17 lah question for Rusni.
Okay. Rasanya ada yang additional question kan? Sebab
Yes,
I
betul.
just got like 13 question, but no worries. Yeah,
Boleh,
should be okay. Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Okay. So Anis, Maria and Hanim can prepare your recording.
Okay.
So basically kita just record raw lah sebab nanti akan edit. Okay.
Boleh?
Okay. So
Let me mute my speaker.
okay, yeah.
Right.
So just a reminder to Anis and Hanim too, if you guys not talking, just mute your mic first.
Okay.
Alright, sure.
Alright, okay, so the discussion starts now. Maria can scroll to the orange one. Okay, never mind. Okay, I got the outline. So just straight away to the yellow one. Alright, okay, so it will start in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Reality Podcast, and we are from Part-Time Students, UITM, and today we will be discussing a very rare topic that are actually happening in Malaysia today, but you might not know. Have you ever heard of period poverty? Did you know that there are women that prefer to get pregnant and carry a baby for 9 months rather than having a period cycle every month because of various reasons? Yeah, I can feel that your brain starts to work a little harder now. And we actually extracted this issue from SDG number 1, focusing on period poverty. And today we invite a very special guest, Puan Rusni Tajari. Hi, Puan Rusni.
Hi.
Okay, so Puan Rusni is from WOA and we are going to discuss more about period poverty. So I will pass the mic to Anis now.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening, Rusni. Thank you for joining us. So, Rusni, we really want to know you better. So, would you like to mind to share with us a brief introduction about yourself, your education background, your current projects that you are working on, especially on addressing period poverty?
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me to talk about the I would say like the rising issues in Malaysia about the period poverty. My name is Rusni Tajari. I'm currently the Senior Advocacy Officer at Women's Aid Organizations, WAO. So currently we are actively doing a couple of projects and also work that we are doing at WAO. Especially on, I guess, on period poverty is something that we are looking forward to work on because we are currently doing a project called Gender Responsive Budgeting. So Gender Responsive Budgeting is an initiative with other civil society organizations. We just formed this year a gender budget group with other organizations to push forward in terms of budget allocation that the government has to put forward to. So one of the things that we are looking at into is obviously the period poverty issues because I guess under the current budget allocation for 2022, if you guys realize that there is some allocations, the budget allocations for the budget 2022 that has been put for specifically to curb the period poverty issue. So this is something that we are looking forward to work on under our project namely gender responsive budgeting.
Oh, I see, Parusni. So, period poverty is the lack of access to sanitary products, menstrual hygiene, education, toilets, hand washing facilities, and also waste management. So, Parusni, does period poverty give impact on mental health? What do you think, Parusni?
Yeah, it certainly is. It actually like impacting the mental health, especially during these times. I mean, like for the past 2 years, we've been like in the pandemic times with COVID-19. So it is certainly impact on the mental health because like you mentioned just now, the period poverty is actually the lack of access with so many things. So what is the things of that people are lacking in terms of when you talk about period poverty, right? So number one is the menstrual products. If you are lack of access uh, in the menstrual products, then this is something that we need to look into. Second things in terms of educations, do you have knowledge or information about period, about poverty, um, about menstrual cycle, especially for the young girls, right? Number three is the hygiene facilities. Number four is the waste management, and also or the combination of these four issues that is put under the period poverty issues. So if you ask me, um, does it impact on mental health? It is, and especially if you are coming from this disadvantage of any of like the following what I mentioned about the period poverty, it could affect your ability in many ways actually. So like inability to manage your period with appropriate menstrual products can actually makes you feel sometimes upset, sometimes distressed, uncomfortable, and also depressed. And actually, there's a lot of research shown actually about this. Many young women who can't afford menstrual health product, especially to meet their monthly needs, may impact their mental well-being. So because of why? Because the lack of access for everything under the period poverty issues, right? Especially for the menstrual products, hygiene facilities, education, like hand washing facilities. Like sometimes we think that is something like very easy thing to get, but for some people it's not. So these kind of things actually can impact actually to their mental health because if you are lacking in something actually, it is also like can make you feel like so many things can affect your inability. If you are young girls who wants to go to school, for example, if you don't have like this accessibility, how can you go to school, right? So yeah, it is impact on mental health.
Yeah, I agree with what you mentioned just now, especially impacting the young girls because they have no one to rely on and they will still have to go to school. So how can they go with such problems, right? So yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, Anis.
Yeah, me too. I really agree with this one. So it is a very serious issue, right? Firstly, in Malaysia, since we are living in pandemic COVID-19, how does COVID-19 impacted period poverty in Malaysia, personally?
Yeah, actually, I guess like what I mentioned earlier, because of the pandemic, that like it's a global public health crisis, right? Because of COVID-19 pandemic, um, people start talking about poverty issues in general, and I think and I guess like poverty issues is not something that is like something we actually know about poverty issues, but do we know about what is under the poverty issues? Like for example, we used to know about the educations, poverty in educations, for example the B40 communities, for example people who can't go to school. We know how when you don't get a proper education, it can lead you to poverty, right? But period poverty is not something that people are talking about it in general, especially. So, according to IMF and World Bank, actually, COVID-19 is likely to cause the first increase in global poverty since 1998. What does that mean actually? So it will push 49 million people into extreme poverty in 2022. This is poverty in general, like I mentioned earlier, poverty in general. But how do we know about the period poverty? How does COVID-19 actually impact period poverty at large, right? So, of course, the financial pressure and the threat of poverty is actually exacerbating the pre-poverty issues of period poverty because it's a poverty at large. But when you scroll down a little bit into what poverty issues is all about, then you can see how it is actually like period poverty, period issues is impacted because of COVID-19. And I would say like period poverty is not new actually in Malaysia. It has been like for so long here in Malaysia, and it was like already a major issue globally. And of course, due to the pandemic, the financial constraint, as for period poverty, it is reduced access to products and an increase in the price of products that makes people are suffering more because of the poverty. People don't have money. People don't have job losses, cut in terms of salary because of the pandemic, right? Because of the COVID-19. So these are the issues that impacted in terms of period poverty. They don't have money to buy, especially for the menstrual product. This is like very basic things that people have to have. We don't talk about in terms of hygiene facilities or waste management or anything. We talk about menstrual products at first because in order for you to get that menstrual products, you have to have like money to have that. So because of COVID-19, poverty at large is actually something that is rising, and period poverty is part of it actually.
I see, Parsley. So I am sure that everyone gets really excited to know more about this period poverty issue. So Parsley, can you share with us which range is impacted the most? Is it teenager or married women, and why they are impacted, Parsley? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I would say like different group of people actually are impacted in different ways. If you talk about girls, if you talk about women, they are impacted in different ways actually. As I mentioned earlier, period poverty is the lack of access of the four things, right? The menstrual products, education, hygiene facilities, ways of management. So how, in terms of age range or what kind of group of people is actually impacted the most, I would say all. I would say because they are impacted in different ways. If you talk about girls, especially in school, they might not have like the right information or knowledge about menstrual cycles, for example, how to manage your period, how to manage your menstrual once you get that. So these could impact them in certain ways, could lead them to not going to school because they don't know how to manage that. And it is something like maybe a taboo topic that they wanted to ask to their family, for example, because I guess like in Malaysia, in terms of like cultural consuming, there's a lot of things that you cannot talk about it openly, especially for period issues. Like it's not something like we can talk openly about it. Maybe you can talk about it once, especially to our mothers, especially when you had it for your first time, right? As a young girls. But after that, maybe your parents, your mom, your dad could say like, okay, this is not something like a good things to discuss or everything. So in terms of girls, they have limitation to get the right knowledge, the right educations uh, about period poverty, right? Of course, for married women, they are impacted in different ways as well. If you are a working woman, especially, you would see that in Malaysia, we don't have like specific leave for period leave, for example, because in many ways, if you have your menstrual cycle every month, your period, then you don't have a choice to get like a leave, specific leave, because there's no allocation for that under our Employment Act. What you could do is actually like maybe you took your leave, your annual leave. So it for me it's kind of like a waste because of like just because of you are having period, right? So then your annual leave could go to waste because of this. So it impacted in different ways for girls, for married women, for working women especially. And you know, pandemic has worsened the situation, especially I guess like for urban poor communities, orang asli women, B40 communities especially, because of like you know they couldn't get like the access to everything in terms of how can you manage your period properly. So did you get your menstrual hygiene management properly in terms of menstrual products, in terms of education, information? How do you get that, right? So I could say in terms of age range or who is the most impacted, I would say in general it's a woman, girls and women, but certain group of people are impacted in different ways.
It's actually something new. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Anis. It's actually something new when I heard Puan Rusni mention about special leave for period, because we know some women, they have a different situation when it comes to monthly period cycle. So some of just sharing with you guys, some of my friends can't even get out of their bed and keep vomiting for like 2 to 3 days straight. So for if we're referring to Employment Act 1955, there's no special leave for women, okay, to get when they're on period. Just have to go to clinic or maybe get MC, medical leave, or maybe have to use their annual leave. So this is something new that we can raise about, because women should get extra leave for that issue, because it's not a silly thing. It's a serious issue where they cannot really work well during their period cycle for the first 2 to 3 days, right? So I'm really interested. Yeah, I'm really interested. That's kind of like a new thing to me.
Yeah, true, Shafika, because it is a biological and it's a normal thing that could happen to all women who can get like periods and menstrual cycle every month. And I know that some of my friends, it's not only like sometimes when they got their first period day, it could like prolong into like 2-3 days. That's how serious period issues actually. But unfortunately in Malaysia, yeah, we don't have like extra leave to address this issue, because you know, like working environment is actually like they expect you to just work and work. So even they have like certain leave, for example, the maternity leave. Even we don't have like same maternity leave with paternity leave to have like shared responsibility, right? But as a woman, you could see like this is how disadvantage that you have as a woman when you are start working. So this is like the real world that could impact you actually.
By Rusni, if I may interrupt, we have the special like vaccination leave, right, for some GLC, for like myself working in Petronas. So we have like special vaccination leave, but we don't have this period leave. And in fact, we are actually working on it. So we have like this organization in Petronas, they call Women Empowering Network. So these are the things that we discuss and we propose to HR. So it's
Yeah.
relevant. Yeah,
That's a good thing.
Mm-mm.
The thing about this is actually we want it to be normalized because it impacted to most of the women, and it's not happening to men actually. That's how advantage to be the man of this kind of issue, right? So we are the one who face about this issue. For some companies, for some companies, I know they are progressive in terms of how they treated their employees, right? But for some, they don't think about it at all. And the worst part is that even under our Employment Act, this is something that is not addressed upon. And I guess we should start discuss. We should start talk about it and normalize about it because it's a normal thing actually. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, truly agree. Anis, you're next.
So, okay, I just want to share. In my workplace, the manager will ask either the interviewer able to work during period or not. If they will apply for medical or annual leave during their period time, so they will not hire her. The company will not hire her. So, it is very serious issue nowadays about period. So, Parusni, we really want to know, does usage of menstrual cups helps to reduce period poverty, since many people are talking about menstrual cups nowadays, especially on social media. Would you mind to share with us?
If I would say, actually using menstrual cup is good. It is not only environmentally friendly, but there are financial benefits, especially because you only have to buy it once compared to a pad or tampon, right? So for people who are living in poverty, for example, saving of that magnitude could be a life changing actually because saving money to buy food is more important than buying a pad or maybe tampon or other things. Food is more important for people who are living in poverty. But however, it is worth mentioning that while menstrual cups can be more cost effective, it is important that those who use menstrual cups have the means to clean them. Like for example, those who are homeless, for example, or underprivileged communities who do not necessarily have access to water to sanitize them, which could result in infections. So if you ask me, it could help in certain ways, but we have to keep in mind that not all people have the means to having an access to water to sanitize the menstrual cup because you can keep once you use it you can always keep them unlike to attempt to a pad which is you can only use once and you have to throw it away or tampon, right? So this is something that we need to, I mean, in a progressive world, of course, we wanted to see more products that could maybe very cost effective to reduce poverty, right? Because there's always having a product that could cost other things as well. Like for example, these menstrual cups. Of course, it's environmentally friendly, very cost effective. But if you don't have water to sanitize them, then it could lead to other issues especially for the infections, and it's not good. Certainly it's not good. So for some people they might prefer to use something very internal because they feel comfortable about it, right? But of course there are a lot of people prefer to use external products like for example a pad or a tampon. So also menstrual cup is something maybe not part of the culture actually. I guess especially in Malaysia, to be honest, I just knew about menstrual cup for the past 2-3 years because it's not something I didn't know that it exists actually
Yeah, me too.
until now.
Yeah, I just knew it
So I just not
Me too.
pad or tampon,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
usually pad lah. Usually
Yeah.
pad because it's not something that we use
We never
to
thought.
use about it because it's something like very internal. If you use about menstrual cup, right? Because I guess like every period can be different. So it is important to understand also that cycle vary, and people might want to use either internal products or external products or alongside of carbs. So it is, for me, it is still something new in Malaysia. But if I read about menstrual cup, it is good. It is good actually. It can help to reduce period poverty, but we need to educate people on how to use it, how to make sure that there is no infection when you use it. There's a lot of things about menstrual cup that we need to educate people a lot more.
So Parisi, I see on social media most women scared to use it, to use the menstrual cup, and does not know the right way to use it and handle it. So they
Yeah,
will not
yeah.
really into menstrual cup. So okay, so now I will pass over for you, Maria, for the next question to Parusni.
Parusni, you want to take like 1 minute break for you to drink or anything before we proceed to the
Boleh,
next?
boleh.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I can see that you are like
Uh,
macam lack of ni.
I am so amazed by your level of knowledge, Parusni. I feel so little right now.
Me
Hey,
too.
There's a lot of new things we learn
don't
over
have
here.
to.
Yes.
We still learn each other.
Yeah, we are learning.
Yeah.
Okay, Parusni, you ready?
Yeah, can.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Maria. And don't leave yet. We still have Puan Rusni here to actually help to answer a few questions. So we want to talk about education. So my question to you, what are basic knowledge a male should learn about period?
Mm.
Mm.
I guess the most important things that we need to remember is that we are living in a society where men and women are both exist. So the basic knowledge for male to learn about period poverty is a lot actually. Especially when men actually don't get proper and formal education to have a better understanding about period. What more about period poverty? I guess some men still don't know what period is actually.
Mhm.
So it is important to start the conversation with them, actually, because we are living in society, as I mentioned earlier, right? So especially for period poverty issues, there are a lot of stigma around it.
Correct.
We are taught to be discreet about our period symptoms and to avoid public and often private conversations about it. And I guess like men are often excused from the conversation entirely because this is not something that they could see like something interesting to learn or to know about it because they don't experience it because they think that it is not important for them to know in the first place.
Okay.
So what important is that to start the conversation? It's not only start the conversation, but how do you start conversation that is correct with information that is safe, that is healthy, dignified, dignified and more respectful way so that men can understand better about the issues. This is important, I guess, because I think like teaching boys about menstruations and other facts related to female or women's sexual health promotes communication, and it also can lessen stigmatization and creates more empathy to know what lived reality that women have actually in their daily life. And not having this conversation between boys and girls at an early age can have a large impact on the world actually, because men could help in so many ways, especially actually. Um, it's not only like if you are living in a family, even if you're not getting married yet, you are living in a family. Perhaps you could have like a father, a brother, an uncle who could understand about the issues. You can talk about it to them. You don't feel shy because you need help about that. If you are a married woman, you can talk openly about it to your partner, your husband, right? For example, even sometimes ask for their help to buy the sanitary products for you. At personal level, I use this kind of method to start conversation and educate my own family, my own little family, especially to my husband. Start teaching him how, what kind of sanitary products that I use every single month, especially when I have my period. What kind of products that I need when I have my period at certain times, for example. So for them to understand about it, it's by having a start conversation and don't exclude them from the issues, because at the end of the day they are the one who needs to know about the issues as well, because surround them they have like they have their mothers, maybe their sisters, their aunts who experience this kind of thing, right? So um, basic knowledge about period is actually like so many things that we can start conversation with them. The cramp that you feel like for your first day, for example, it's something that maybe they cannot process because they don't experience. Men don't experience this kind of things. Only women experience. So start conversation with them. How can they help you in certain ways? When you start conversation with your own family, for example, your own friends, actually you can help at the large society to help how to curb the period poverty. Yeah.
So basically, the keyword here is start casual conversation with your family members when it comes to period. Okay, all right. So second one, in your opinion, why majority tend to think that period poverty education is not as important compared to sex education?
I guess most people still don't know like menstrual is actually part of sexual and reproductive health. And it is an important knowledge for people, especially young girls, to know about it. So if you talk about sex education, it's not only like the knowledge of your body parts, how to know your body parts, what is the right term you should know about your body parts. There's a lot of things about sex education, and menstrual is part of the sex education, of course, because it's something that is happening on your body part, right? So what is blood when you start menstrual, the cycle around it, for example. So it's, I guess, like it's a normal bodily function that is affecting a quarter of the world population. So what's important is that menstrual management is a fundamental human rights, and yet it's a cultural customs and practices and lack of resources that prevents girls and women from dealing with their menstrual needs with dignity. So people still thinking period poverty is not important as other knowledge, such as the sex education, because they don't think that it is, because they think it is not part of the sex education. But it is actually, because if you talk about the menstrual cycle, it is something that your body, how your body functions, right? So what is important is how we teach about the management of menstrual hygiene, for example, which is that could, if that could lead to some kind of like period poverty if there's a lot of thing like unmet aspect of sexual and reproductive health, because of the lack of access to so many things about your period, right? So it is part of sex education, if you ask me. So, and of course it is important to talk about it, and
sorry, Porosni. So it is as important as sex education, as is like interrelated, like interlinked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is very interlinked actually, because if you talk about sex education, menstrual is part of sex education actually, because it is part of the sexual and reproductive health. Menstrual is reproductive health, especially for women, right? this is like the important knowledge that we need to know. So sex education is a very like broad term that we can use to teach people about education as a large. But how do you how do we want to understand about the aspect of sexual and reproductive health? So menstrual is part of it.
Okay, all right. Okay, Parusni, I'm going to move to the next question. This is a very interesting question. Okay, is actually how to change the stigma among society that period poverty is a cultural shame among women. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the stigma surrounding period is driven by religion and culture. Especially for culture, we consume so many things actually in culture. I remember when I was young, period issue is not something that we could talk openly. I guess like if you talk about culture, general culture in Malaysia, it's not something that you can talk openly. It's not. It's very taboo. It's very taboo. Even if you have like your first day of period, you can ask your mom what you can do for that. And I guess that is like once for all you ask your mom about that, about your period. For some cultures, at least for me, I'm not sure about others, but I believe this is like very general experience for women, especially young girls in Malaysia. Um, so the stigmatization is always there. The taboo is always there. And it is some kind of like a shameful thing to talk about it or even to experience to experience it. Um, Even it is actually a normal thing that could happen. And especially for young girls, young women, you're always like being labeled as impure or dirty, and sometimes like being denied access to places of worship, for example, right? And
Yes, very true.
unable to bath or cook because of the horror and impurity of the period. So this kind of stigmatization that we actually face every single day since um like
Till
since
we reach
since
puberty.
yeah.
Yes.
So it's something like it's something like very taboo that we need to unpack and dismantle the understanding. Because of these cultural attitudes, I guess like many women around the world are also denied access to sanitary products or services. You know, this result sometimes in an absence of period educations, which can result in unsafe management methods, and sometimes can escalation in fear and negative self-image or doubt. Um, and sometimes because of like these cultural attitudes, for many young women, we tend to be silenced because we don't have our voice to talk about it because of the cultural attitudes that being imposed to us to believe that, oh yeah, this is true. But it is a normal thing actually happen. It is like bodily function that happen to you like every month, and this is like a normal thing that could happen to everyone who um, experience menstrual cycle every month, right? So to change this stigma is actually there's a lot of things that we could do and we must do. I guess like to educate people to understand what period. It's a normal thing. It's not something like it's not something a shameful thing to happen to women. It's a normal thing. Um, and start the conversations of like having the lack of access to all these things that could happen to all women who experience period. And if we don't start about it, actually that could help, that could lead us, especially for underprivileged communities, the P40 communities, to period poverty space. Actually, that's why we call it as period poverty, because we know some women experience period, but they are lacking in accessibility for so many things. Not all women are privileged enough to have all those access, right? So to unpack and I guess like dismantle the stigma is very important, especially in our society. Start conversation about it, normalize things so that people could understand what period is actually, what period poverty is all about, how it is impact not only to girls, not only to women, but it actually impact to everyone in the family, right? So yeah, I guess there's a lot of things that we still can do
Yeah,
to
even
destigmatize. Yeah.
yeah, even me myself, my personal experience, the culture within I think Malay race, they used to use a replacement words to say period. I'm on my period. So they use ABC, Allah bagi
Mm.
cuti. So even
Yes.
when they are talking to their mom straight away, but there's a father or brother around, they will use a replacement word to say I'm on my period, so I cannot pray. So
Right?
it's very taboo. You cannot say straight away like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting to know. I have another question for you, Puan Rusni. Okay, how could period poverty lead to gender inequality and affect the status of a woman?
Yeah, I guess this is very important questions when we talk about like period poverty. Because in general, when you talk about period poverty issues, it is impacted to young girls and women, especially because men don't experience this, right? So there's a lot of ways that could lead to gender inequalities in period poverty. Let's say, for example, the girls who experience period, and when they don't have access to the four things that I mentioned about period poverty, right? When they don't have access to sanitary products, for example, to waste management, for example, and all sort of thing, the tendency for them to miss the school is high because of the period itself. So boys don't experience this, right? So you can imagine like at least they experience 7 days a month with period. You can multiply it by year. How many days they could waste because of the period, because of the lack of access, the right access to the period that the girls don't get. So how many days girls miss the opportunity to be in school to get education, right? So this could lead to gender inequalities because we know that education is very important. When girls miss the school, then this is something that is not good actually because of the period. In the workforce, for example, some women um, they don't get uh, into the higher position because of like the stigma or the understanding because of women are seen as emotional because women are period, for example, hence they are not the suitable candidate to be a leader. And some may say like women get pregnant, so because of that they couldn't afford women's absentees in the companies when they get pregnant because they have like after they get pregnant they have like some 2 months 3 months maternity leave. So all these issue could hinder them to get promotion, for example. That is why in the workforce, you could see like there's so many issues how women are not being promoted in the certain level, how women cannot climb the ladder into the higher position as men because of these kind of issues. Um, there are also like the issues of women, I guess like women who are willing to be pregnant for 9 months just to avoid having a period because of the issues they couldn't afford to have like the sanitary products. So they choose to have a choice to be in a short-term situation that could affect their long-term life, right? So this kind of like I would say like live reality of women that women face every single day actually can lead to gender inequality and affect the status of women because of the stigmatization, because of the taboo, because of like, oh, women period, so women are emotional, women are not suitable to be a leader. Like for example, so women shouldn't get promoted, women shouldn't be a lawmaker because of these stigmatizations about the period and also the period poverty. Um, this is something that I say I would say like an important thing to unpack our understanding, because biological reason shouldn't be an issue or an excuse to not having women as a leader, to not promoting women in the workforce, to not let girls to go to school. There's a lot of things that can be done to curb this issue actually. Yeah.
Okay, what about you? Have you ever experienced that you are being curbed from getting a promotion just because you have like this, or you have your first day of period, so you're emotional, so you're not making a wise decision because you're emotional, and when you are
Yeah, at personal level, I haven't experienced like being discriminated of promotion, because all these years I've been working in a very healthy and excellent working place who understand about the gender equality and healthy environment workplace that actually understand about the issues. But I do believe some, especially for the big company, the GLCs, the MNCs, there are a lot of issues around it actually. I know one particular issues when we had pushed forward for the amendment of the Employment Act this year. This woman is actually, I guess, because of her pregnancy, she's not only she's not only not getting the promotion, but she is also like the company give her a short notice resignations because of the pregnancy issues. So
I'm sorry, did I heard it right? A woman get terminated because of pregnancy.
yep,
So this is
yep,
actually
you're
happening
right.
in Malaysia.
This is
Yep,
really discrimination.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is
Shouldn't be.
true.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, but
Shouldn't
this is,
be.
yeah, because this is actually happening in Malaysia. And if you see under our Employment Act, there is no specific
Yeah.
clause that saying that if you are pregnant, you cannot
Work.
be dismissed. There's no specific clause that say that. Meaning to say that the employers have the power to do that to you if they find it like you are not suitable for this position because of the pregnancy. That is why at WAO we are pushing forward for the amendments of the Employment Act to to include anti-discrimination because of gender, religion, pregnancy, disability. There are few things other because
Yeah.
there's no clause like specific saying because of you pregnant then you cannot be terminated. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's a good move, because imagine you work for like 5 to 10 years and then you got terminated just because you're pregnant. Maybe the company can give like a very special 2 to 3 months leave in the first trimester, if I'm not mistaken, the term. So you can just have a leave. It's not necessary to terminate women just because of pregnancy. I just think that this is very unfair.
True. It is discrimination towards women,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because men don't experience this. That is
yeah.
why I would say like in the workforce it's very challenging for women. It's not only about period. It's about your pregnancy. It's about your gender itself. So there's a lot of challenges that you have to face because of your gender as a woman.
Not
Okay,
to forget
okay,
the maternity leave.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
still
okay.
3 months. It's quite long for a person working in a place.
Okay, Pak Rusli, we actually have a lot of questions for you. So we want to carry short because considering that we have like a few minutes left. So, okay, this is a short question. In your opinion, is it relevant to include menstrual care as part of basic necessities for needed family to lessen period poverty?
Yep. I guess this is very important actually, because if you think about progressive government, in terms of initiative, policy, and all sort of that, they would think to implement this to curb the poverty issues. So it's relevant and it is very important.
Okay, next one. In your opinion, what do you think can be done more to actually address this period poverty in Malaysia? What more can be done?
There's a lot of things, especially if you talk about how the policymaker can do to address poverty in Malaysia, especially, right? So the first one is to have a specific budget allocation. This is more important because without budget allocation, you couldn't, especially for government, you couldn't do so many things in terms of initiative, how you could help, especially for the B40 communities, the underprivileged communities who needs help in terms of accessibility of period. So the government should think how they could help in terms of to curb the poverty. So one of it is the budget allocation to address about this issue. I know some countries, I guess like progressive countries, they put a lot of effort, especially for budget allocation for period poverty issues, because it is impacted half of the population. If you say in Malaysia, we are half women are half of the population in Malaysia. So if there is no progressive initiative or policy that has been put into the place, uh, we cannot see like any progressive effort that could lessen the period poverty.
Thank you, Pak Rusni, but don't go yet. We have a few questions more for you, and I will pass to Hanim. Hanim, over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Maria. Hi, Parusni. I'm Hanim here. We're having great information so far, and I have a question. As you have mentioned earlier about the budget, as for the first time we heard, for me also, the 2022 budget presented by the Minister of Finance, Senator Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul, this time emphasized on the issue of menstrual poverty. Does this budget seems good to you?
Yeah, it is a good initiative by the government to start recognizing and putting some effort, if I would say, and budget allocation for period poverty issues. And also, I guess like this is like the first time ever in Malaysia the government has put anything about the period poverty to curb the period poverty issues. Any budget allocation specifically for period poverty issues. So I guess this is a good initiative by the government, and it has to be a um, yearly initiative that should be put by the government, because it is not only because of the pandemic the period poverty issues is rising. It has been in Malaysia for such a long time actually, but we don't know that is the right term to talk about, or it is actually a period poverty. Yeah.
Okay, and through the presentation, Tunku Zafrul also said that a total of 130,000 young women from the B40 group who experience financial constraints will receive basic personal hygiene kits for free every month. Do you think the total is enough?
I guess if you see like during the COVID-19, right? Still we are like reaching to the endemic if I would say. Many people were affected because of the MCO, especially when the first MCO has been implemented last year, and many people are start losing their jobs, like getting cuts and so on. So this is more impacted to B40 communities, urban poor families, people who are living in PPR, the low cost housing initiative by the government. So these personal hygiene kits for free every month, I would say it definitely gonna help them in some ways, especially like the group of people that I mentioned just now, the B40 communities, the urban poor people, people who are living in a PPR, because this is like the areas that people who are living in poverty for so long. But what's important is that the sustainability of this effort, because we need to know in terms of monitoring of this effort, because they say like giving to B40 groups every month the hygiene kit, how is the monitoring is putting in place, right? Because this is such a good initiative. So we wanted to know in terms of sustainability. We don't want this initiative is just like being a one-off program or initiative that being put by the government. So in terms of like, if I would say like, so many like progressive country has putting so many initiative programs in their country. Like for example, Scotland provide free access to sanitary products to all women. And I guess like because of the pandemic, New Zealand started the idea of like provide free sanitary pads to schoolgirls. If I'm not mistaken, France has reduced the sale tax on menstrual products. This actually can help, especially for the poor family, right? So these are all the initiatives that some progressive country has implemented in their countries. So and it is sustainable. So what we wanted to see is actually in terms of sustainability of this initiative, so that it can help to curb the period poverty issue.
And continuously, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And other than that, we also heard that the government's allocation to distribute free personal hygiene kits was seen as a waste. Women are advised to go to the old practice, which to use recycled sanitary napkins. It is better and save cost also. What do you think about this, Puan Rusni?
I think if we wanted, Jack. Okay. So I think I guess to blame people for the free hygiene kit to go to waste is not right for me, because we have to know in terms of this group of people who are actually lacking in so many things. They might don't know how to use it, as that is not something that they used before, right? Some may have no knowledge about what menstruation is all about. Lack of knowledge on the menstrual cycle, access to sanitary infrastructure and privacy, for example. So if we see that this distribution free personal hygiene kit as a waste, we need to do some evaluation. Why is it go to waste, for example? Because as I mentioned earlier, they might not knowing how to use the personal hygiene kits. This is maybe something that something new for them. For example, they never use a pad, for example, that we are giving to them. Usually, maybe they use some uh, some something that they never use about it for their period, right? So I guess like we need to do some evaluations to help them to understand in a better ways, because lack of access to sanitary products is a human right. It's a basic things for them to have. So also I guess like it's not shocking if there are still many girls and women who still don't know how to manage their menstrual properly, because this is not something like in terms of education. This is not something like the information and knowledge that you can get easily if you don't ask, if you don't know about it, if people don't tell you. So this is something is not shocking for me. And what is important for me is that we have to educate them and how to educate them about the period, about how menstrual cycle is happen and the period poverty itself, about how to manage the menstrual cycle and also um, their period when once they got it. So this is, I think, the most important thing for us, because it's our job to educate people to understand about it.
Yeah, yes.
So
And
Paru,
we just can't turn a blind eye to this issue of period poverty, right?
True.
Yeah. And before we end our interview,
Hani, before that, I just want to interrupt. So I just want. So basically, the key point here, the key takeaways is first is budget, and then second is education. It can be informal and formal.
True.
Okay, all right. Over to you, Hanim. Sorry.
okay. Before we end our interview, in your opinion, what member of publics can help in addressing the period poverty issue? Puan Rosni.
Yeah, thank you, Hanim. I guess as a public, we need to know about the period, because if we don't know about period, what period is actually, we still don't know how to help people, especially people who are around us, our friends, our family, maybe our sisters, our younger sisters, for example, right? So how can we help them? Start conversations, start asking if you don't know. And I guess most importantly for public is actually do not mocking about period if we saw something about it in public. Because I guess like in terms of period poverty issues, the stigma, the shame is still there because of like most public still don't know how to unpack their understanding about the period poverty issues. So we have to destigmatize these stigmatizations about the period poverty issues. So public could help in terms of this. So start learning about it, educate ourselves to learn about what period poverty, what period itself is actually it's all about. So we need to start asking ourselves why we need to know about this, because it could happen to anyone around us. And when it is happen to anyone around us, how could we help them? So that is very important for me, for public to know, so that we can help each other.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rosni.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Hanim, for and Maria and Anis for all the question. And I think that's a wrap for today's episode of Reality Podcast for the topic of period poverty. And it was such a mind blown for all of us, I believe. And there's a lot of new things that we discovered today. And for that, thank you so much, Puan Rusni, for making time for us. And we truly, truly, truly appreciate your time and willingness to share such a useful knowledge, not just for women, I believe, for men, because I think it takes both gender to curb this issue from becoming more worse, especially in Malaysia. And for that, thank you everyone for lending your ears. Stay tuned for more interesting topics in Reality Podcasts. All
Thanks
right.
everyone for having me. It's a nice conversation.
Thank you, Parusni.
Okay, I end the
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. Maybe we can treat you. We'll take you for a coffee or something.
Yeah.
Ah.
So actually, just to be frank with you, Puan Rusni, it was a very informative discussion, not just for the assignment. I feel very interested with the topic, and with the knowledge that you share today, I'm so mind blown. I am so amazed by your experience, especially. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thank you too for inviting me. It's a nice conversation actually.
Okay.
Thank you everyone.
Rosni. Good
we will
night.
Alright, good
Assalamualaikum.
night. Take care.
Person.
share you the final link after our
Alright, yeah, yeah.
the
Please
final
do.
part. Yeah. Thank you so
Alright,
much and
thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you so much.
Alright, good night.